My wife and I are constantly asked about what we're going to do when we retire. When we leave the Park Service, what are we going to live in? Because we've always lived where the nearest neighbor's 6, 8, 10 miles away. It's not going to be an easy adjustment if we have to move into an apartment or a house that's right next to another neighbor. So that's a thought in our mind, is how are we going to deal with living close to people again. What we're looking at here is a monument commemorating the survey of the Virginia-North Carolina line. I'm actually in North Carolina. That's the reason you see the NCA here. The fence over there is a protection for the wild horses that live in North Carolina. It keeps them from moving on into Virginia Beach. It's interesting to think that in 1889, when they put this here, with the tools they had, how did they get it that accurate? And then the second thing, how on earth did they get this big old piece of granite through woods like this? You know, what would it have been like during that period of time? What tools? How did they transport it? A lot of interesting thoughts about that in 1889, 130 years ago. If you look to the north of us, you'll see that the beach disappears. It has a curve to it. Early mariners, they would cross the Atlantic Ocean using one type of rigging that allowed them to run with the wind. And as they're coming up the coast, they would see this curve, and that looked like they were going into Cape Henry. Well, there was no mouth or opening to a bay here, and so it's a false cape. Even John Smith and his company, the Virginia Company, were warned to beware of the false cape before they ever left England. My favorite time would be evening. As the sun's setting, either the False Cape dock or the Washwoods dock, sitting there and watching the sunsets. I've been here now, well, since I was my early 20s, so I don't like the heavy hustle bustle of like the ocean front, that type of thing, but this type of environment I love.